Tired of container plants that bloom for 2 weeks, then stop? Done with the constant replanting cycle to keep pots colorful? These 10 flowering plants bloom non-stop from late spring through fall frost, providing 3 to 4 months of continuous color without deadheading, without constant care, and without the disappointment of plants that peak too early and fade. Get ready for containers that look amazing all summer long. Before I reveal these continuous blooming champions, hit that like button if you want container gardens that stay colorful all season, not just for a few weeks. Subscribe to this channel for plant selections that deliver long-lasting results and maximum impact. And ring that notification bell so you never miss our container gardening guides. Your all-summer color show starts right now. Alright, let's dive into the 10 flowering plants that keep your containers stunning from May through October. Here's the frustration with most flowering container plants. They bloom beautifully for a few weeks in late spring or early summer, then they're done. You're left with green foliage, or worse, plants that look tired and ratty for the rest of the season. To maintain color, you're constantly replanting, deadheading, or accepting that your containers will look disappointing by July. But certain flowering plants are marathon bloomers, not sprinters. They start flowering in late spring or early summer and continue non-stop until frost kills them in fall. We're talking about 3, 4, even 5 months of continuous blooms without the constant maintenance that exhausts most gardeners. The plants I'm sharing today are all proven all-summer bloomers. I've grown them in containers for years, watching them perform reliably from spring planting through fall frost. These aren't theoretical recommendations or plants that bloom well only in perfect conditions. These are workhorses that deliver color week after week, month after month, regardless of heat waves, rain, or less than perfect care. Each plant offers abundant flowers, relatively low maintenance, and the stamina to keep blooming when other plants have given up. Plant number 1, petunias, the classic continuous bloomer. Petunias are the gold standard for all summer container color. Modern varieties bloom continuously from planting in late spring through fall frost, producing masses of trumpet-shaped flowers in virtually every color and pattern imaginable. Solid colors, stripes, stars, double flowers, and everything in between. Wave petunias, supertunia series, and easy wave varieties are specifically bred for vigorous growth and continuous blooming without deadheading. They form cascading mounds that spill beautifully over container edges, creating dramatic displays. Petunias thrive in full sun and heat, actually performing better as temperatures rise. They're the perfect choice for hot, sunny balconies or patios where other plants struggle. Growing tips for maximum bloom. Plant in containers at least 10 to 12 inches in diameter filled with quality potting mix. Place in full sun, at least 6 hours daily. Water consistently, checking daily during hot weather. Petunias have shallow roots that dry out quickly. Fertilize weekly with liquid fertilizer diluted to half strength, or use slow-release fertilizer at planting and refresh mid-season. Petunias are heavy feeders and need consistent nutrition to support months of blooming. Modern varieties don't require deadheading, but if plants become leggy mid-season, shear them back by 1/3. They'll regrow quickly and bloom even more heavily. Key benefit: petunias provide the most color per square foot of any annual. A single plant can produce hundreds of flowers over the season, creating solid masses of color. They're also incredibly versatile, available in every color except true orange, and they work in hanging baskets, mixed containers, or solo plantings. Caution: petunias need consistent fertilization. Container-grown petunias deplete nutrients quickly, and unfed plants produce sparse flowers and yellowing foliage. Also, they're frost-sensitive and die at the first freeze. But until that frost, they bloom continuously without stopping. Plant number 2, Calabrachoa, million bells, the miniature petunia. Calabrachoa looks like miniature petunias with small, bell-shaped flowers covering plants completely from spring through fall. The flowers come in vibrant shades of pink, purple, red, yellow, orange, white, and bicolors, and they bloom so profusely that foliage is often completely hidden beneath flowers. These plants trail beautifully, making them perfect for hanging baskets or containers where they can cascade over edges. They're incredibly floriferous, producing literally millions of blooms over the season, hence the common name, million bells. Growing tips for maximum bloom. Plant in containers at least 10 inches in diameter with excellent drainage. Calabrachoa hates wet feet and needs well-draining soil. Use quality potting mix and ensure containers have drainage holes. Place in full sun for best flowering. Calabrachoa tolerates part shade but blooms most heavily with 6 or more hours of sun. Water when the top inch of soil is dry. These plants need consistent moisture but will tolerate short dry spells better than petunias. Fertilize weekly with liquid fertilizer, or use slow-release fertilizer and refresh mid-season. Calabrachoa are heavy feeders like petunias. Key benefit: Calabrachoa blooms continuously without any deadheading. The spent flowers drop cleanly, and new blooms keep emerging nonstop. The trailing habit creates beautiful cascades of color, and the small flowers have a delicate, refined appearance compared to bold petunias. They're also heat-tolerant and perform well in hot summer conditions. Caution: Calabrachoa can suffer from iron chlorosis in alkaline soil or water, causing yellowing leaves with green veins. Use acidic potting mix and consider adding iron chelate if yellowing occurs. Also, these plants are frost sensitive and die at first freeze, but they bloom continuously until that frost hits. Plant number 3. Lantana, the heat-loving butterfly magnet. Lantana is a flowering shrub that thrives in heat and blooms continuously from late spring through fall. The flowers are clusters of tiny florets in multicolored combinations: orange and yellow, pink and yellow, red and orange, or solid whites and purples. The flower clusters change color as they age, creating multicolored displays on the same plant. Lantana is a butterfly and hummingbird magnet, attracting pollinators constantly. It's also incredibly heat and drought tolerant, making it perfect for hot, sunny containers where other plants wilt. Growing tips for maximum bloom: plant in containers at least 12 to 14 inches in diameter filled with well-draining potting mix. Place in full sun, the more the better. Lantana thrives in heat and sun that would stress other plants. Water moderately, allowing soil to dry slightly between waterings. Lantana is drought tolerant once established and actually prefers drier conditions over constant moisture. Fertilize monthly with balanced liquid fertilizer. Deadheading isn't necessary for continuous bloom, but removing spent flower clusters encourages bushier growth and more flowers. Simply pinch off faded clusters at their base. Key benefit: Lantana blooms continuously in the hottest, sunniest conditions, making it perfect for challenging locations. It attracts constant pollinator activity, bringing wildlife to your containers. And it's genuinely low maintenance, tolerating heat, drought, and neglect that would kill pickier plants. Trailing varieties cascade beautifully from containers or hanging baskets. Caution: Lantana is toxic to pets and humans if ingested. Keep away from curious children and animals. It's also frost sensitive and dies at first freeze. In warm climates, Lantana can become invasive, but in containers, growth is controlled. Finally, some people find the foliage scent unpleasant when bruised, though others enjoy it. Plant number 4. Verbena, the tough trailing bloomer. Verbena is a trailing annual with clusters of small, 5-petaled flowers in shades of purple, pink, red, white, or bicolors. Modern varieties bloom continuously from late spring through fall frost without deadheading, forming mats of flowers that cascade over container edges. Verbena is tougher than it looks, tolerating heat, drought, and less than perfect conditions while continuing to bloom prolifically. It's also a pollinator magnet, attracting butterflies and hummingbirds. Growing tips for maximum bloom: plant in containers at least 10 to 12 inches in diameter with excellent drainage. Verbena needs well-draining soil and hates wet feet. Use quality potting mix and ensure drainage holes. Place in full sun to part shade. Verbena blooms best with at least 6 hours of sun, but tolerates part shade better than many sun lovers. Water when the top inch of soil is dry. Verbena is moderately drought tolerant and prefers drier conditions over constant moisture. Fertilize every 2 weeks with liquid fertilizer during the growing season. If plants become sparse or leggy mid-season, shear back by 1/3 to encourage dense regrowth and renewed flowering. Key benefit: Verbena provides continuous color in a trailing habit perfect for hanging baskets, window boxes, or container edges. The flowers attract pollinators constantly, and the plant tolerates heat and moderate drought better than many annuals. Modern varieties bloom without deadheading, making maintenance minimal. Caution: Verbena can suffer from powdery mildew in humid conditions with poor air circulation. Choose mildew-resistant varieties and ensure good spacing for airflow. Water at soil level rather than overhead to keep foliage dry. Also, verbena is frost sensitive and dies at first freeze. Plant number 5, mandevilla, the tropical vine. Mandevilla is a tropical flowering vine with large, trumpet-shaped flowers in shades of pink, red, or white. It blooms continuously from late spring through fall, producing dozens of dramatic flowers that add tropical flair to containers. The glossy, dark green foliage is attractive even when not in bloom. Mandevilla vines climb supports or can be allowed to trail from hanging baskets. They're heat lovers that thrive in hot summer conditions where other plants struggle. Growing tips for maximum bloom. Plant in containers at least 12 to 14 inches in diameter filled with rich, well-draining potting mix. Provide a trellis, obelisk, or other support for vining varieties, or choose bush-type mandevilla that don't need support. Place in full sun to part shade. Mandevilla blooms best with at least 6 hours of sun. Water consistently to keep soil evenly moist. Mandevilla prefers steady moisture and wilts dramatically if allowed to dry out, though it recovers quickly with water. Fertilize weekly with high phosphorus fertilizer to encourage abundant flowering. Mandevilla are heavy feeders and need consistent nutrition. Key benefit: mandevilla provides dramatic, tropical-looking flowers continuously throughout summer. The large blooms are showstoppers, and the vining habit adds vertical interest to containers. They're heat-tolerant and thrive in hot, sunny locations. The flowers attract hummingbirds regularly. Caution: mandevilla is frost-sensitive and dies at temperatures below 50 degrees. In cold climates, it's truly annual. In warm climates, it can be overwintered indoors. The sap is mildly irritating to skin, so wear gloves when pruning. Also, mandevilla can be prone to spider mites in hot, dry conditions. Monitor for fine webbing and treat with insecticidal soap if mites appear. Plant number 6, geraniums, pelargonium, the reliable workhorse. Geraniums are classic container plants with clusters of flowers in shades of red, pink, salmon, white, or bicolors. They bloom continuously from late spring through fall with minimal care, making them perfect for busy or beginner gardeners. Modern geranium varieties are more heat-tolerant and floriferous than older types, blooming nonstop even during hot summers. They come in upright forms for standard containers and trailing ivy geraniums for hanging baskets. Growing tips for maximum bloom. Plant in containers at least 10 to 12 inches in diameter filled with well-draining potting mix. Geraniums hate wet feet and need good drainage. Place in full sun to part shade. Geraniums bloom best with 6 hours of sun but tolerate part shade, especially in hot climates where afternoon shade prevents stress. Water when the top 2 inches of soil are dry. Geraniums prefer to dry slightly between waterings. Fertilize every 2 weeks with balanced liquid fertilizer. Deadhead spent flower clusters regularly to encourage continuous blooming and maintain tidy appearance. Simply snap off faded clusters at their base. Key benefit: geraniums are incredibly reliable, blooming continuously with minimal care. They're drought-tolerant once established, heat-tolerant, and relatively pest-free. The flowers last well in hot sun, and plants bounce back quickly from neglect. They're also long-lived, often overwintering indoors in cold climates and returning for multiple seasons. Caution: geraniums can suffer from botrytis in humid conditions with poor air circulation, causing brown, mushy flowers and stems. Ensure good spacing and remove spent flowers promptly. Also, overwatering is the most common cause of geranium problems. Let soil dry slightly between waterings. Finally, budworms sometimes burrow into flower buds, preventing them from opening. Handpick affected buds or use BT if infestations are severe. Plant number 7, begonias, the shade-blooming champion. Begonias are one of the few flowering annuals that bloom continuously in shade, making them invaluable for shady balconies, porches, or north-facing patios. Wax begonias and dragonwing begonias produce masses of flowers in shades of red, pink, white, or bicolors from late spring through fall frost. The flowers are abundant and self-cleaning, dropping when spent and immediately replaced by new blooms. The foliage is attractive too, often bronze or burgundy, adding color even between flower flushes. Growing tips for maximum bloom. Plant in containers at least 8 to 10 inches in diameter filled with rich, moisture-retentive potting mix. Place in part shade to full shade. Begonias tolerate morning sun but prefer shade from hot afternoon sun. Water consistently to keep soil evenly moist. Begonias need steady moisture and wilt if allowed to dry out. Fertilize every 2 weeks with balanced liquid fertilizer to support continuous flowering. No deadheading needed. Begonias are self-cleaning. Simply remove any yellowing leaves to maintain appearance. Key benefit: begonias bloom continuously in shade where most flowering plants won't bloom at all. They're perfect for shady balconies or covered porches. The flowers are abundant and maintenance is minimal since no deadheading is required. They're also relatively pest-free and disease-resistant when grown in appropriate conditions. Caution: begonias are frost-sensitive and die at first freeze. They also suffer in full sun and heat, with foliage scorching and flowering decreasing. Plant them in shade or part shade only. Overwatering or poorly draining soil causes root rot, so ensure containers have drainage holes and soil drains well despite being moisture retentive. Plant number 8, Angelonia, the summer snapdragon. Angelonia, often called summer snapdragon, produces spikes of small, snapdragon-like flowers in shades of purple, pink, white, or bicolors. It blooms continuously from late spring through fall without deadheading, making it incredibly low maintenance. Angelonia is extremely heat and drought tolerant, thriving in hot summer conditions that slow many other annuals. The upright, bushy habit provides vertical interest in containers, and the flowers attract hummingbirds and butterflies. Growing tips for maximum bloom: plant in containers at least 10 to 12 inches in diameter filled with well-draining potting mix. Place in full sun to part shade. Angelonia blooms best with 6 or more hours of sun but tolerates part shade. Water when the top inch of soil is dry. Angelonia is drought tolerant once established and prefers drier conditions over constant moisture. Fertilize monthly with balanced liquid fertilizer. No deadheading required. Flowers drop cleanly when spent and new blooms emerge continuously. No pruning needed either. Plants maintain compact shape naturally. Key benefit: Angelonia is genuinely low maintenance, blooming continuously without deadheading or pruning. It tolerates heat and drought exceptionally well, making it perfect for hot, sunny containers. The upright habit adds height and structure to mixed containers, and the flowers provide vertical interest. It's also relatively pest and disease-free. Caution: Angelonia is frost-sensitive and dies at first freeze. It also performs poorly in cool, wet conditions, preferring heat and drier soil. In regions with cool, rainy summers, Angelonia may struggle. It's best suited to warm, sunny climates with hot summers. Plant number 9, New Guinea impatiens, the shade color. Powerhouse. New Guinea impatiens are larger, more sun-tolerant versions of traditional impatiens, producing large, vibrant flowers in shades of pink, red, orange, purple, or white. They bloom continuously from late spring through fall, covering plants with color. The foliage is attractive too, often dark green, bronze, or variegated, providing interest even between flower flushes. New Guinea impatiens thrive in part shade to part sun, bridging the gap between true shade plants and sun lovers. Growing tips for maximum bloom: plant in containers at least 10 to 12 inches in diameter filled with rich, moisture-retentive potting mix. Place in part shade to part sun. New Guinea impatiens tolerate more sun than traditional impatiens, but still prefer some shade from hot afternoon sun. Water consistently to keep soil evenly moist. New Guinea impatiens need steady moisture and wilt dramatically if allowed to dry out, though they recover quickly with water. Fertilize weekly with balanced liquid fertilizer to support heavy flowering. No deadheading required. Spent flowers drop cleanly, and new blooms emerge constantly. Key benefit: New Guinea impatiens provide continuous, abundant color in part shade conditions. The flowers are large and vibrant, creating dramatic displays. They're more sun-tolerant than traditional impatiens, making them versatile for various light conditions. And they're self-cleaning, requiring no deadheading maintenance. Caution: New Guinea impatiens are extremely frost-sensitive, dying at temperatures below 40 degrees. They also need consistent moisture and suffer quickly in drought. Check containers daily during hot weather and water as needed. In full sun or hot, dry conditions, plants decline rapidly with scorched foliage and reduced flowering. Plant number 10, Zinnias, the cut and come again. Champion. Zinnias are annual flowers with daisy-like blooms in every color except blue, including vibrant shades of red, orange, yellow, pink, white, and bicolors. They bloom continuously from midsummer through fall frost, producing more flowers the more you cut them. Compact varieties bred for containers stay under 18 inches tall, while blooming just as prolifically as full-sized garden varieties. The flowers are long-lasting as cut flowers and excellent for bouquets. Growing tips for maximum bloom. Plant in containers at least 10 to 12 inches in diameter filled with well-draining potting mix. Place in full sun, at least 6 hours daily. Zinnias need sun to bloom prolifically. Water at soil level, avoiding wetting foliage. Zinnias are susceptible to powdery mildew when foliage stays wet. Water when the top inch of soil is dry. Fertilize every 2 weeks with balanced liquid fertilizer. Deadhead regularly by cutting stems back to just above a leaf node. This encourages branching and more flower production. The more you cut, the more zinnias bloom. Key benefit: zinnias produce abundant flowers continuously from midsummer through fall. They're heat-tolerant, thriving in hot summer conditions. The flowers are perfect for cutting, lasting over a week in vases. And zinnias are fast-growing, blooming within 60 days from seed, making them economical to grow from seed rather than buying transplants. Caution: zinnias are susceptible to powdery mildew, especially in humid conditions with poor air circulation. Choose mildew-resistant varieties, ensure good spacing, and water at soil level only. Also, zinnias are frost-sensitive and die at first freeze, but they bloom continuously until that frost, providing reliable color. Section 11. Essential care tips for continuous blooming. To keep these plants blooming all summer, follow these essential care practices. Consistent watering. Most flowering annuals need consistent moisture to support continuous blooming. Check containers daily during hot weather. Stick your finger 2 inches into soil. If dry, water deeply until water runs from drainage holes. Inconsistent watering causes stress that reduces flowering. Regular fertilization. Heavy blooming depletes nutrients quickly. Fertilize weekly or every 2 weeks with liquid fertilizer diluted to half strength, or use slow-release fertilizer at planting and refresh mid-season. Well-fed plants produce more flowers over longer periods. Deadheading when needed. Some plants on this list need regular deadheading, while others are self-cleaning. Follow individual plant requirements. Deadheading prevents seed formation and redirects energy to producing more flowers. Mid-season pruning. If plants become leggy or sparse mid-season, shear them back by 1/3. They'll regrow quickly and bloom even more heavily. This mid-season reset extends the blooming period. Adequate container size. Use containers large enough for mature plant size. Cramped roots limit growth and flowering. Most flowering annuals need containers at least 10 to 12 inches in diameter. Full sun placement. Most continuous bloomers need at least 6 hours of direct sun daily. More sun equals more flowers. Only begonias and New Guinea impatiens bloom well in shade. Place sun-loving plants in the sunniest locations available. Good drainage. All these plants need well-draining containers. Use pots with drainage holes and quality potting mix. Standing water causes root rot that kills plants or severely reduces flowering. Section 12. How to extend blooming. Even longer. Want to stretch the blooming season even further? Try these strategies. Early planting. Start plants indoors from seed 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost, or buy transplants early. Plant outdoors after frost danger passes. Early planting means earlier flowering and a longer overall bloom period. Succession planting. Plant new containers every 2 to 3 weeks through early summer. This creates staggered bloom times and ensures some containers are always at peak flowering. Frost protection. Extend the season into fall by protecting containers from light frosts. Move containers to sheltered locations, cover with frost blankets, or bring them onto covered porches when frost threatens. Many annuals survive light frosts and continue blooming if protected. Overwintering tropicals. Some plants like mandevilla and geraniums can be overwintered indoors in cold climates, then brought back outside the following spring. This gives you a head start and earlier blooms. Choose reblooming varieties. When buying plants, look for varieties specifically labeled as continuous bloomers, ever-blooming, or Nonstop. These are bred for extended flowering periods. Optimal growing conditions. Plants in ideal conditions bloom longer than stressed plants. Provide adequate water, consistent fertilization, appropriate sun exposure, and good air circulation to maximize bloom duration. And there you have it, 10 flowering plants that bloom continuously from late spring through fall frost. providing months of non-stop color in containers. No more disappointing gaps or constant replanting. These are the workhorses you need for beautiful containers all summer long. Thanks for watching this all-summer bloom guide. If this video opened your eyes to plants that actually bloom all summer, not just for a few weeks, smash that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel for more container gardening strategies that deliver lasting results and continuous color. Comment below and tell me which all-summer bloomer you'll try first. I'll see you in the next video with even more ways to create stunning container displays. Happy continuous blooming!